A peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. You are in store for a wonderful conversation with a gentleman who's a singer, songwriter, producer, who is out here on the grind like the rest of us EntreMusicians, just making it happen. He's the brother that I ran into online. I've been admiring his stuff from afar, and we just had the opportunity to hook up and begin doing some dialogues. And I'm grateful to know him. His history is long. He's been grinding real hard, and you're going to love him too. This is going to be a great conversation. This is my newfound friend, Robbie. Hey, peace and blessings to you, brother. How you doing tonight?
Good. How you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing absolutely excellent. I'm so grateful that you could carve some time out of your schedule to hook up with us and hang out. Tell us how life really goes so we could take notes.
Oh no, man, I'm honored to be able to do this. I've been watching you do some stuff with some really big people, so I'm like, I feel like I'm honored. I'm honored for sure.
No, the honor's all mine. I mean that wholeheartedly, man. I must say right off the gate is that I've had an opportunity to peep your music. You have one project in particular which is like a head turner. I think I want to begin with that because I help me with the title, but it's songs my nana used to sing.
Yeah, songs Nana used to sing.
Now,
Yeah.
dude, first of all, your voice is absolutely stellar and on point. You are an incredibly soulful singer, so you have to take me through the history of how that project came about.
Oh man. Um. Well, first I grew up as a singer in the church, so kind of fast forward a little bit. My I was always talking to my wife about possibly getting a computer. If I had a computer, I could do this and I could do that and blah, blah, blah. So she got me a computer. And so it was like, oh, okay, now I got to really do something. So I always had the idea of doing like a collection of hymns, but kind of doing them with a little twist to it. And kind of at the same time, it was kind of a whole bunch of stuff. I wanted to first do a gospel offering with for my computer that I got, but then I wanted to honor my grandmother,
Yeah.
who was pretty much responsible for me being in the church and singing singing in the church choir and all of that stuff. So I had the idea of kind of doing some different things with some of the like classic hymns, and it just kind of went from there. I got a couple of the church musicians to help me out, and it just kind of grew from there.
Well, it definitely flowed. So I would imagine, I'm just taking it for granted that all those wonderful background vocals belong to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did pretty much
Incredible.
everything except the keyboards. I'm not. I can play piano, but I'm not a piano player.
Wow.
So I pulled some of the guys from church to go ahead and do some play some piano, play it like it's supposed to be played, as far as church is concerned.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You ain't kidding. I tell you what. No, it's a wonderful project, and your grandmother would be absolutely proud of you. And I don't know how many people are aware of your talent, but you like I said at the beginning, as many other entree musicians are out here, either in the basement or the bedroom or the attic, is out here grinding. But you have a body of work. This, first of all, this project, and also a history with Miss Patti Labelle. So, can you
Yep.
tell us about that situation?
Um, it was kind of weird because I like pretty much everybody else. I've been a fan of Patti LaBelle since LaBelle, and I don't know what it was. It was something that I wanted to meet her. I was It was like I'm going to be able to meet Patti LaBelle,
Yeah.
And so me trying to be a, trying to be a musician and everything. On one of her albums, she had her management company, the information, back in the day when they had albums and they had liner notes and all that stuff.
I remember.
So they had the management address on the back, who was managed by her husband at the time. So I'm like, I'm gonna send a tape. I'm gonna send him a tape. Didn't nothing really came of it. I was able to meet Armstead several years later. And he was like, everybody sends me tapes, so I was like, okay.
No impressed, not impressed, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I kind of went into um, connecting with her after I had gotten a record deal with Alpha International, that was a record company out of Philadelphia. And so once I got there, it was like, oh, maybe I can get Armstead to be my manager. And, because I'm thinking, okay, maybe, now I got something to offer. Maybe we could cook up and stuff. So it never came at that point, it never came to fruition, but we became good friends. And so just over the years, we would connect and everything. It was interesting how I caught up with him. I was going to DC to hang out with my dad, and he was leaving. He was in DC, leaving to go back home. It was some kind of seminar or something in DC, and he missed his train. So I was waiting for my dad, and I'm like, oh, that looks like Armstead over there. So I went over there, introduced myself, because I had met him a couple of times while I was in Philly, and he was like, "Hey, Robbie, how you doing?" Blah blah blah. And so we got to talking, and his train didn't leave till about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, "Hey, come on and go over to my dad's house, hang out with us, and I'll bring you back to the train station when it's time to go." So he came over there and hung out with me and my dad, and then he when I took him back to the train station, he said, "Well, is there anything? If there's anything I can do for you, you just let me know."
Uh-oh,
And
famous last words.
yeah, so I said, "Well, you can get me a record deal." And it was like, "Let's talk about it." I'm like, "Okay." So that kind of furthered our relationship. So we connected that way. He and Patty had a club in Philadelphia, and I was one of the artists that was featured at the club for a long time. So we did it was like a cabaret style type show. So we did just songs, just different songs, and backed her up, when
Yeah.
she appeared and stuff. So it was really cool. I mean, that whole experience. I've met a lot of famous people, and she is everything and more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Totally down to earth,
Yeah.
grounded, and although she is a megastar, not really starstruck, doesn't put that vibe out there.
Yeah. I have
Yeah.
I have one thing that I can kind of claim to be, that kind of puts me in a different package is I ate her fried chicken,
Huh.
and it was this was before, I want to say it was before Popeyes, right? And it was spicy just right. It
Wow.
was it was like I talked about it for months.
That's excellent. Now she
Uh,
she also has she also has like a chain of foods. I think I ate one of her
mm,
cobblers, peach cobbler, but it was kind of store bought. But how
mhm.
whatever that goes with, it didn't come directly from her kitchen.
Yeah.
Maybe her recipe, but you
Yeah.
got straight from the kitchen.
Yeah, I sat in the kitchen. It was cool. I sat in the kitchen and got to, and this was after maybe a year after she had won the Grammy.
Oh wow.
So I was in the presence of the Grammy and sat at the table and ate some fried chicken. But she offered me okra. I don't like okra,
Yeah,
and
I don't know. Okay.
but I'm like, I'm gonna eat Patti LaBelle's okra for sure. I ain't gonna say no.
So how'd you get it down?
I, I took a piece and then it was like followed up by the chicken and probably whatever else I was drinking, iced tea or whatever. But I was like, okay, I ain't gonna say
I
nothing.
I can dig it. I'm not an okra guy either, but yo, if it's Patty, then yeah, yeah,
Hey,
we'll take one from the team, right?
can't turn it around. You can't turn it down. You can't turn it down for sure.
My goodness. Well, here's a question that I've been meaning to ask you because we started our conversation online and whatnot. One chat
Hmm.
to the next. Grateful you were able to join us in one of our mastermind conversations and whatnot. But just doing a little bit of research and whatnot, I discovered that there once upon a time was a Robbie with some hair and had a stellar voice, you know. But it wasn't the Robbie that I thought I was talking to. He's a couple decades younger, but this voice was incredible. Different last name, however. So, tell me the tale of the two Robbies.
Okay. Um. All right. So my actual last name is Cunningham.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I had the opportunity of getting a record deal with Alpha International, where I that was an experience within itself,
Mm-hmm.
because it was ran in part by like the legendary Joe Tarsia,
Mm.
who owned Sigma Studios
Yeah,
in
Sigma Sound.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sigma Sound that
Mm-hmm.
recorded all of the Philly International stuff. And so I was hooked up to with that record company. And then one of my mentors, and like I've known forever, Joe Jefferson, who was a writer with Philly International. Rest in peace, Joe. He wrote for the Spinners. He wrote for the OJs. He wrote for pretty much everybody on Philly International. He wrote. I think he wrote Brandy for the OJs. All of the a lot of hits. But he was my connection in Philly,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were in the studio recording for the album, and it was like, I don't think Robbie Cunningham is gonna cut it. It's just, I don't think it's gonna cut it. I mean, I don't think Robbie Cunningham, just it doesn't flow right. So it just so happened that at the time I was a big um, uh, Lakers fan,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a guy on there. His last name was, or I'm trying to think of his first. Might have been his first name. It was Michaels, and the way he spelled it was Mychals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, okay, maybe Robbie Mychals will work. And I ran it past everybody, and all of that. And so it was like, okay, that'll work. And
Yeah.
if you want to change your name, we'll go with that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of how it came about.
So how long did you stay Robbie Michaels? For the run of the record deal or
Yeah, that
yeah.
was that was back in 1990
Mm-hmm.
up until maybe 92, something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So yeah, that was a really great learning experience, that whole
Well,
process.
so tell me this then. Starting in church, the way most soul singers do,
Hmm.
the way most R&B singers and acts and bands. I was a
Hmm.
church drummer myself at whatever age. My mom put me
Okay,
on the
me too.
drums. You know what I mean?
Me too. Yeah.
But so, what did you get any type of feedback, blowback, repellent when you chose to go quote unquote secular? Was there any?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I just
um, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
I
that seems to be a
remember.
common story, but tell me yours.
Yeah, I remember. One of the church mothers, Miss Miller, I think her name was,
Oh yeah.
um, back in New Bridge Baptist Church here in Richmond, Virginia. She, you know what you always get when you try to do that, or when they get wind of it. You can't serve God and
Come on
man at
now,
all of that, and
come on.
so it was like. But here was what was interesting for me. one of my musical heroes was Donny Hathaway.
Yeah, yeah,
And so Donny Hathaway to me had a thing about him that was just, it just reached you. It just grabbed you in the chest.
yeah,
And so that was always in the back of my mind. I always listened to Donny Hathaway. I listened to Stevie Wonder. I listen to everybody.
certainly.
But um, I went to, here again, Patti LaBelle. I went to one of her shows. And in part of her show, she does "You Are My Friend,"
Hmm.
and then when she gets part the way, she goes into "What a Friend We Have in Jesus."
Hmm.
So I was sitting in my seat in the back, and just the way the crowd responded when she went into "What a Friend We Had in Jesus," her being an R&B singer, up until that point, she was singing all these R&B songs.
Sure.
But then when she got to that point, it was like it just blew everything away.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it kind of was like a light bulb to me. It was like, well, it was almost like God saying that's ministry.
hmm,
That's
hmm,
ministry. And that
yeah,
and I felt comfortable in it. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I kind of landed. I still try to, you know, ride the fence of secular gospel music, but
mm,
to me, it's all just music.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what was your, did the dear mother, did she receive your response? Did you have a
Of course,
response for her?
of course not. She didn't.
Yeah,
A lot of the church mothers, they were not having it. They
yeah,
were not. They didn't. They loved me enough not to kick me out of the church, but they were like, because I was playing drums. I would play drums at a band on
yeah.
Saturday night in a
Come on,
club,
dude.
and then play drums in church on Sunday morning. So,
So that's
hey,
that's my story, as well. I think I've shared this once or twice on this podcast, but
mhm,
I'm only sharing it again with you because I know we're kind of cut from the same cloth of faith. We're both
uh,
Christ followers, and it's really in your formative years as you're growing up. I mean, I had some real questions, and my grandparents, obviously, when Aretha Franklin, after that amazing album, Amazing Grace, and then RESPECT, they were pulling their hair out because, this is sacrilege, right? So
yeah,
I actually lived those conversations at 14 and 15, and I
mm,
think I wasn't rebellious, I wasn't disrespectful, but many of the times that you're playing drums at that age and you're playing in high school bands and whatnot, we call them sock hops and different dances, and sometimes it was a club I was underage and I shouldn't have been in. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But they would say you and hear me say it because I don't mean this disrespectfully. I'm saying this to you because I want to know what you feel so we can dig deeper into it a little bit because perhaps there's someone watching or listening that's getting that same blowback. And truly, I am a man of faith. I don't compromise on my faith. But
right,
they would say something like, "Yo, you're playing that devil's music, and you need to be here." Well, I am here, and I
mhm,
would say, "But the devil pays." You know what I mean? It's
uh,
nobody's saying, "Here's something to enhance your gift. Here's something that we're going to bless you with." You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
And
right, yeah,
so, what do you think about that? I mean, I said it. I was sarcastic. I was 14 or 15. You know what I mean? I wouldn't dare say it to a mother in the church now at my age. But
yeah,
what do you think about that? I think maybe churches can do a better service to the younger musicians by being a blessing to them and showing them
mhm,
that this gift that they've been given, and I'm going to give the mic to you, but the gift that they've been given,
mhm,
will make room for them, and
right,
sometimes giving a monetary honorarium, not to say because some will say, well, you don't have to be paid for that. It's not that. It's just
right,
that on Saturday night, somebody put an envelope in their hand. What do you
mhm.
think about that?
It's a lot.
Just be
It's a lot.
transparent. Just be,
Lot.
We're
but
not cutting
here,
anything out. This is unedited.
no, okay. But here's what I would say, and I've had a lot of time to think about it and a lot of time to research it in a sense. Um, I would start with this. A lot of us love the Psalms,
Mm,
and a lot of us recite the Psalms from top to bottom, which
sure.
are supposedly the songs of the church. Those are supposedly old hymns.
Hmm.
But my first question to someone like that would be, what did the Psalms sound like?
That's great.
What was it? Was it set to music, or did it sound like what would be considered secular music, or was it strictly uh, sacred music? We can't tell. All we know is the words of what David and all of the other psalmists wrote
Sure.
has been influential, has been inspirational for years.
Yes.
So that's one thing. But then I go forward. The other thing is one of probably one of the best things to happen to gospel music was Thomas Dorsey,
Correct.
who did Precious Lord.
Correct.
And so out of it wasn't out of his religious experience that he wrote Precious Lord. It was out of his life experience.
Hmm. Yeah.
So the connection there would be um, him being a blues musician. He put together a song that's that's we still singing today.
Sure.
That's he's known as the father of gospel music.
That is correct.
So I you can't really you can't speak about, well, this is the devil's music, blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
then embrace um, Precious Lord as a hymn, which is
Yeah.
in your hymn book. So yeah, I mean, I always just look at music as as being creative, a part of being
Yeah.
creative. I don't get into genres at this point
Hmm.
because I'm very eclectic in the sense that I love all kinds of music.
Certainly.
And so part of for me, and this goes to, my production company, I put it together with the name Zoé Music Group. And Zoe meaning oh man, I forgot. Zoe means basically
It's life, actually.
life, yeah, life.
Yeah.
God,
Hmm.
life as God intended,
Hmm.
right? So my goal is to write music and
Yeah.
create music that reflects life as
Certainly.
God intended. So you're not gonna
Exactly.
you're not gonna hear me, degrading women and
Certainly.
all of that
Certainly.
stuff. So I'm gonna
Right.
be uplifting in that sense, but I wouldn't necessarily call it gospel music.
I understand completely. And another thing with respect to, just doing a study on music, one of the incredible books that we seem to bypass in the Bible is the Song of Solomon,
Hmm.
which is a very, very graphic love
Yeah,
song. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's a song, and wow, we could
yeah,
start a sermon series on this. I wasn't intended, but just when you look at the content of what this king was saying to his fiance and what she was saying to him, it really is very sensual,
right.
but it was God who said, it's not cool for man to be alone, so I'll make a helpmeet
Hmm.
for him. And so the intimacy and all of that is now, of course, the enemy takes what God intended, the Zoe, and
Right.
he perverts it any way he could, because when God made everything, he said it was good. And so you
Mhm.
have the counterfeit and the other on that the enemy
Right.
puts on it. So
Yeah.
as far as music is concerned, music is to be that expression of grace from God.
Mhm.
It's the most, it's spirit within itself that moves you like no other element can, and you can
Yeah.
use that for good.
Yeah, who is it?
You know.
M. Tume said music is probably the only art form that you can't touch. In most cases, you can't see,
Right.
um, but it it touches you.
That's correct.
It's one of the only art forms that touches you. I sing it a lot. Of course, I sing a lot at funerals and stuff.
Yeah.
And one thing, my a cousin, I sung at a cousin's funeral, and um, he came to me and said, "You know what? You don't just sing.
Mm.
You reach inside of people and grab them."
Yeah, you
And I
do.
was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, you do.
I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
do.
"Whoa." That really set me on a course of like, you know, I have a responsibility now. This gift,
Hmm.
I have a responsibility to do some stuff, with this gift that I
Yeah.
have. So that's basically the road that I've been on. I've been a knucklehead for a little while, but I'm on a different road now.
Haven't we all? Who would you
Yeah.
say would be your most influential as an artist? Someone that you look to and really drew a lot of inspiration from. Um, let's say from the standpoint of being a vocalist. I know you started on the drums, but
Hmm.
you know your voice is so dynamic, and I agree with your cousin. But who do you say you listen to and you say, "Wow, that's the formula that I want to embrace."
See that I whenever I do an interview, I get that question every now and then,
Yeah.
and to me, that's an unfair question
Ah.
because there's a list. you know, there's a list of people. At the beginning, if anybody in the beginning, I wanted to be Stevie Wonder.
Hmm.
Love Stevie Wonder to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
Donny Hathaway,
Hmm.
um, Daryl Coley,
Daryl Coley, Jiminy.
um,
Yeah.
Sarah Vaughan,
Hmm.
Al Jarreau. Um,
Which, by the way, you did an incredible tribute to. Blessings to
oh
you on that.
man,
Yeah.
that was Al Jarreau is like, I'm like I said, I'm an eclectic musician. I listen to everything,
Yeah.
and so um, my connection to Al Jarreau is my cousin. I was living in D.C. and my cousin went to Howard HU, the real HU,
Yes, sir.
uh, and he lived at my mom's in the basement. And so me, of course, me being a knucklehead, while he was gone, I went through his creative albums and I played the Green album, Al Jarreau's Green album,
Mm.
and that just set me on a whole different course. Because mind you, up until that point, I'm listening to Parliament Funkadelics,
Oh
Earth,
yeah.
Wind
Oh
and
yeah.
Fire,
Yeah.
Stylistics, everybody. But Al Jarreau was like set apart, and then being a drummer,
Yeah.
him being percussive in his scat and everything, that was like, oh, this guy is, who is this.
Absolutely.
So that's why I drew close to Al Jarreau. I was like, that's my guy. And then everything he did after that was just like
Right on
crazy.
point. Right on
Yeah.
point. Tell me what you think of Bill Withers.
Ah, ah, Bill Withers. Bill Withers is a prophet.
Yeah.
Bill Withers is a
Absolutely.
prophet, man. And I didn't. And here's what's interesting to me about Bill Withers. Um, and I didn't really learn this until later, really, till I really got into learning songwriting and all of that stuff.
Sure.
Bill Withers kind of broke those barriers, those molds,
Yeah.
you know, because a lot of his songs don't necessarily fit the typical structure, you know, and so, but they get you, you know.
Absolutely.
When I got older, I heard "Hello Like Before,"
Mm. Very good.
and when I've gotten older, so it hit different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
hit different. I'm like, oh my God, Bill Withers, yeah,
So
yeah.
so
A lot of these people, I got so entangled with them that when they passed, I cried.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
I understand
it
it.
was it was like it's one of that. It's one of those.
It's like when George Duke left us, I felt like he was my uncle, like he helped raise me, right? So
Yeah,
my
and
wife,
he
my wife teases me about that, but it's
and
the
and
truth.
for me, we didn't know he was sick. It
Yeah,
wasn't a situation where he made it known. Oh well, Bill with
exactly.
like it was like Maurice White.
Yeah,
You knew
yeah,
he was
yeah,
sick,
yeah,
and everything, but when he passed, it was like, oh my God. And Al Jarreau's the same way. I didn't
exactly.
wasn't cognizant of him being sick like to that
Right,
point,
right.
but it was like, man, I boo-hooed on those guys.
I can, I can dig it, man, Robbie. I mean, I
Yeah.
really can. And I was just the other day, for some reason, I was humming to "Ain't No Sunshine," from Bill
Mm.
Withers, and just again, you don't get it when you're a kid, but he says, "I know, I know, I know," maybe like 16 times. Right? I know
It's
I
just
should, leave the young thing alone, but I mean, I know. But ain't no sunshine when she's gone. And I'm thinking, as a man, you get it.
that I think I heard um I was on a jazz station. I think Ruben Studdard did it. I think it was a jazz instrumentalist, but Ruben Studdard sung it. And that, that I know, I know, I know. And it was just like, yeah, yeah, that's all you can say. That's all you can say. It's like, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what's next for Robbie? What's on your plate for what's coming
A
up?
little bit of everything. A little bit of everything. Like I said, I just consider myself a creator,
Yeah,
and so whatever flows through me at the time is, that's what it is. That's what I'm getting out. So along with, I was thinking about this today. I am probably a record company's nightmare, but a publishing company's blessing
yeah, yeah. That's a
because
good
I'm
way to
all
put it.
over the place.
That's a good way to put it.
Um,
Yeah,
I like you said, I did the gospel. That's always connect. I'm always connected to that. The R&B stuff, I'm connected to that. And the instrumental jazz stuff that that I guess I was forced to do in a sense,
yeah,
which was interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm creating whatever I can create, and
yeah.
so I guess the next chapter for me at this point would be getting into sync licensing.
Excellent.
Getting into sync licensing. I had a cousin who did a documentary, and she wanted some music, so she called me up, needed some music for it. So I sent her a few tracks and stuff, and she was like, "No, I need something a little more percussive." So I'm like, "Okay, I'm a drummer,
Yeah,
perfect, right down my alley, right?"
right, right.
So I did that, and so she entered it in the Bronze Lens Festival in Atlanta, and it got picked to be
Wow.
featured. So she was like, "You got to come to Atlanta. They's gonna set up a panel and da 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 da." And I tell you, Jerry, when I heard my music in a movie theater, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
It was just wow. And then I had no idea what sync licensing was at that point. I
Mm-hmm.
just I knew about doing music for TV shows and all that. That was, I'm familiar with that.
Sure.
And like one of my favorite singers, Luther Vandross, who did jingles in the beginning.
Correct.
So, I'm kind of in that mindset. But when she asked me to do that, it was like, oh, I might can do this. This might be something I can get into. So soon after that, the pandemic hit. So I was able to do a lot of research and everything about it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like my next chapter at this point.
Well, that's good to know. And, from the breadth of music that you already have out there, this is just going to be a welcome, you know, a welcome addition to many chapters that are unfolding. I'm so grateful that I know you now, and that you are becoming a part of the EntreMusician community. And what I want you to do, those of you who are watching or listening, is to check out Robbie, and you have to go to zmg4life.com and listen, check out the videos that are there. There are several videos. Check out the project on Nana, the songs that Nana sang. I mean, just absolutely gets into your soul. There's no way that you're going to be driving your car and listen to that and not have to pull over at least twice. That's for sure. And I mean that wholeheartedly, man. You have a wonderful voice, and I could hear all of the influences of everyone that you talked about, from Stevie to Donnie. You know, there's some Luther in there. There's definitely some Sarah Vaughan in there. Your phrasing is magnificent, and
Oh man.
I could really go on, man. I would love to hear you play drums, though. Too. I hear the
Yeah.
programming. I hear the programming, so I know that you can play because you can program. But you know,
Yeah.
to hear you actually with the sticks in your hand would be wonderful
Mm,
for me. I'm so
yeah.
grateful.
I haven't really played drums in a long time. A lot of what these kids are doing now is like, I don't know. But the one thing for me, um, back in the day, like I said, when I started playing drums, I wanted to be a session musician.
Yeah.
That was my thing. I wanted to be a studio musician.
Hmm.
And so what I worked on was my timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the one thing I worked on. And I was like, I'm gonna be, dead on. And
Right in the
again,
pocket.
Joe Jefferson, God rest his soul, who was a drummer also, um, he was on me. He was like, man, when you go in the studio, you got to be on this and this and back then, I don't know if they rarely used a metronome or anything,
Sure.
you
Sure.
know. So he kind of scared me into it, but it was like, I gotta get this right. I gotta be on time, and I gotta do this. And to some degree, some friends of mine, I had that to a fault as a singer, because I'm singing, sometimes, some people were trying to get me to lay off the beat when
Hmm.
I'm singing on the beat, and stuff like that. And so it's a interest. I'm still learning. I'm still learning. So
We are all still learning.
yeah,
That's what it means to be an entree musician. I mean, we'll
yeah,
never stop learning. We'll always be teachable. There's always something new. There's always
yeah,
something fresh. And I think the wisdom is, how do we apply it? You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
well, I
yeah,
want to thank you, brother, for your time, for being with us again. You know, it won't be our last conversation here on the Entre Musician, and I can't wait to see what's next and what type of movies your music, appears in, or Pringles potato chip commercials, or games, or any of that, because the sync
hey,
market is really opening up. So,
yeah,
I'm grateful
yeah.
to know you.
Appreciate
Brothers and
it, man.
sisters, this is Robbie. This could be Robbie Cunningham. It could be Robbie Mychals. This is Robbie. He's an entree musician. My name is Jerry B. I'm an entree musician. But most importantly, so are you. So thank you, brother, for joining us. And we'll see you
Thank you,
again
man.
soon, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, blessings to you. This has been a wonderful conversation with Robbie. Once again, I want you to check him out. You will find his information in the show notes and how to connect with him. And as you can see, he's just down to earth, and we'll talk to you and connect with you. And I'm sure if you have some questions, if you're a young musician coming up, he can give you some advice, especially if you are in the Richmond, Virginia area. Well, peace and blessings to you. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time. God bless.